Once upon a time, in a small but cozy house at the edge of a forest, there lived a kind-hearted girl named Cinderella. She wasn't just kind, she was also beautiful, with bright eyes and a warm smile that could light up even the gloomiest day. But Cinderella's life wasn't easy. After her mother passed away, her father remarried a cold and cruel woman who brought her 2 daughters along. When her father also sadly passed, Cinderella's stepmother revealed her true colors. She made Cinderella a servant in her own home, forcing her to scrub floors, polish shoes, and cook meals from dawn till dusk. "Clean that again, Cinderella," her stepsisters would screech. "You missed a spot," they'd cackle, tossing crumbs onto the freshly swept floor. Despite their cruelty, Cinderella never complained. She found small joys in singing to the birds and watching the sunlight dance on the forest trees through her tiny attic window. One day, excitement swept through the town. A royal messenger arrived with a golden scroll. "Hear ye, hear ye! The king invites all the young ladies of the kingdom to a grand ball. The prince will choose his bride." The house buzzed with excitement. Cinderella's stepsisters squealed as they tried on dresses and jewelry, while Cinderella quietly whispered to herself, "Maybe I could go too." But her stepmother overheard her. "You?" she sneered, narrowing her sharp eyes. "Go to the ball in those rags? Absolutely not." The stepsisters joined in, laughing, and one added cruelly, "Maybe you can polish the prince's shoes while we dance." Cinderella's heart sank, but she helped her stepsisters prepare anyway. She fixed their hair, ironed their dresses, and tied their ribbons. When the carriage arrived to take them to the palace, Cinderella waved goodbye, trying to hold back her tears. Left alone in the quiet house, Cinderella finally let her sadness pour out. "It's not fair," she sobbed. Her tears sparkled in the moonlight streaming through the window. Suddenly, the room glowed with a golden light. Startled, Cinderella looked up, and there, floating before her, was a gentle-looking woman holding a shimmering wand. "Why are you crying, my dear?" the woman asked. I wish I could go to the ball," Cinderella whispered, barely daring to hope. The woman smiled kindly. "You shall go, my child. I am your fairy godmother, and tonight your dreams will come true." With a wave of her wand, magic filled the room. A pumpkin from the garden rolled in and transformed into a dazzling golden carriage. Mice scurried across the floor and turned into sleek white horses. A lizard from the wall became a smartly dressed coachman. Cinderella's ragged dress shimmered and spun until it turned into a gown of pure magic, soft blue with silver sparkles that twinkled like stars. On her feet appeared glass slippers, delicate yet strong, shining with every step. Cinderella gasped. "It's beautiful," she exclaimed. "But remember, Cinderella," the fairy godmother warned gently, "this magic will only last until midnight. At the final chime, everything will return to what it was." Cinderella nodded. "Thank you, fairy godmother. I won't forget." At the palace, the ballroom was alive with music and laughter. The prince greeted guest after guest, but his eyes lit up when Cinderella entered. Everyone turned to look at her, awestruck by her beauty and grace. "May I have this dance?" the prince asked, bowing deeply. Cinderella, blushing, took his hand. They danced across the floor as if no one else existed. The prince couldn't take his eyes off her, and Cinderella, for the first time in her life, felt truly happy. But then, dong! The clock struck midnight. Cinderella gasped. "I have to go," she cried, pulling away from the prince. She ran down the palace steps, her gown fading back to rags with every step. In her haste, one glass slipper slipped off her foot, but she didn't stop. By the time the clock's last chime echoed, she was gone. The next day, the kingdom buzzed with excitement. The prince had found the glass slipper and declared, "I will marry the girl whose foot fits this shoe." He sent his servants across the land to try the slipper on every young woman. When they arrived at Cinderella's house, the stepsisters shoved forward, each trying to force their feet into the delicate slipper. One even stuffed her toes in painfully, but it was no use. Then, from the shadows, Cinderella stepped forward. "May I try?" she asked softly. Her stepmother laughed cruelly. "You? Don't be ridiculous." But the prince's servant insisted. Cinderella sat down and gently slipped her foot into the slipper. It fit perfectly. The room fell silent, and her stepmother's jaw dropped. At that moment, the fairy godmother appeared once more, restoring Cinderella's gown and glass slippers. The prince, who had followed his servants, saw her and smiled. "It's you," he said, taking her hand. Cinderella's days of sadness were over. She married the prince, and they lived happily ever after, proving that kindness and courage can overcome even the darkest of times.